Hello and welcome to Managing Remotely. During this session, we will focus on the key components for managing performance. All of these concepts can also be used when managing someone in person as well. Let's take a look at our learning objectives. During this session, and by the end of this program, you will be able to adjust your management style by identifying what works and what doesn't for you and your direct reports and make changes as needed. You'll be able to review prior work from home expectations, goals, and objectives and adjust those for the work from home environment as needed. And you'll be able to continue to provide regular feedback and coaching to all of your direct reports. This program is split into two different sessions. This first session is going to talk about management non-negotiables, and our second session is going to talk about leadership strategies. This quote from Stephen Covey, who wrote the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, really sums up the challenge of being a people manager. When you were an individual contributor, your goal was to achieve results through your own subject matter expertise. Now, as a people manager, the skills you need are completely different than those that made you successful previously. Now you need to get results from others and bring out the best in them. This is not an easy task. This program will cover the basics of performance management, the key components for successfully managing other people toward meeting or exceeding our expectations and the expectations of Loomis sales. There are 3 things that you, as a people manager, need to do very well, and we call these things management non-negotiables. The first thing that you must do as a people manager is to set clear, specific, and measurable expectations on performance and behavior. You also need to get alignment and agreement from your employees about these expectations. In other words, they need to agree to your expectations. If there is any disagreement or misalignment around these expectations, you will then need to have a conversation about that. Oftentimes, I will use the SMART goal format or the SMART goal tool to help me in setting clear, specific, and measurable expectations with my employees. Now, using a non-work example, I wanted to share with you a story that I recently had with my teenage son when asking him to clean his room. I asked him to clean his room, and he went upstairs and he then cleaned his room based upon his definition of clean. When I looked at his room, he will more than likely not have met my expectation. The fact that this occurs, that he's not meeting my expectation, is not his fault. It's mine. That's because I have not explicitly and specifically defined what a clean room looks like. He needs to understand and be aligned with my definition of a clean room. Now, once this happens, I need to enable him to meet that standard by providing him with the training and resources he needs to be successful. Again, that's my job, and it's your job as well. Certainly not a work-related experience, but one that we can hopefully or maybe all relate to. Then, once you're aligned and agreed to that standard of success, and you have enabled your employee through training, coaching, and resources, it will then be necessary for you to track and monitor their actual performance with respect to those expectations. In other words, how is your direct report progressing? Are they meeting, exceeding, or not meeting those expectations? How do you know? What evidence or data do you have that tells you how they're doing? It's very important to have a tracking mechanism to know where they are with regard to your agreed upon expectations that you set in step 1. Now, your direct report can only be doing one of 3 things. They could either be meeting your expectations or doing exactly what they should be doing, exceeding your expectations, or performing better than the expectations or standards that you set, or not meeting your expectations. In other words, the performance is not meeting the standard that you have set, and they are off track from where they need to be. Once you determine where they are and how they are doing, your next step is to then provide feedback. If they are meeting or exceeding expectations, then your job is to reinforce that behavior with positive feedback. If they are not meeting expectations, then your job is to provide redirective feedback with the intention of getting them back on track as quickly as possible. These three fundamental non-negotiable steps are the foundations of managing performance. These steps can be applied in the office or the remote setting. Either way, you will need to establish the expectation, track and monitor progress, and provide ongoing feedback based upon actual performance. Let's now take a closer look at number one by unpacking our expectations a bit and their capability to complete that expectation. So employees have varied needs based upon the tasks that they perform and their capability or ability and desire or motivation to perform those tasks. In other words, depending upon the goal or task that they must accomplish, they may need different things from us to successfully meet our standard of success. Therefore, we're going to look at an employee's performance on a goal by goal or task by task basis, which is not how we normally operate. Typically, we think about managing the person. However, in this case, we're going to manage the person by looking more closely at each goal or task they need to achieve. On some goals or tasks, they may need little from us. On other goals or tasks, they may need a lot more from us. If you think about your own goals or tasks, this same philosophy applies. For some of your tasks or goals, you simply don't need much from your manager. You're just looking for space, autonomy, trust, and just the ability to do your best work. At other times, you may be looking for more instruction or direction from your manager because you may be new to that task or goal. You may not have ever completed that task or goal successfully in the past, and you're going to need a more hands-on approach from your leader. The same holds true for your direct reports. Now, in order for someone to be successful at anything, they need to have two things: the capability to perform the task and the desire to perform the task. In other words, they need to possess both the skill and the will to accomplish the task. And if you were to express this in terms of a mathematical equation, then capability plus desire equals something called capacity. There are four distinct capacity levels, or CLs, that we will look at. Each capacity level is a combination of someone's capability to successfully perform a task and their desire to successfully perform a task. Here are the four capacity levels. They're simply called capacity level 1 or CL1, capacity level 2 or CL2, capacity level 3 or CL3, and capacity level 4 or CL4. Each one is a combination of one's capability and desire on a specific task or goal. We do not use capacity level to describe a person. No person is a CL1 or a CL4. They may be CL1 on a specific goal or task, and they may also be CL4 on another goal or task. We are determining capacity level on a task by task or a goal by goal basis. We have to be really specific about that. Our job is not to label people here as CL1s or CL4s. It is to identify or determine their capacity level on various goals and tasks that they're working on. Now, CL1 is described as someone who has low capability but high desire on a task or goal. CL2 is described as someone having low capability and low desire on a task or goal. CL3 is described as having high capability and low desire on a task or goal. And CL4 is described as having high capability and high desire on a task or goal. Our job as managers, along with our employee, is to collaboratively determine their capacity level in each one of their goals and tasks. This is, in fact, a collaborative process and not something we do in a vacuum or in our own heads. We first discuss the task or goal with them, get alignment and agreement, and then, along with them, determine their capacity level. Again, depending on which capacity level they are at on a task or goal, they will need different things from us. There's a great resource for you called Form C, Measuring Capability to Perform. If you haven't received it, you can certainly ask your HR business partner about it. This resource will help you in determining capacity level on a specific task or goal by asking you several questions about both their capability and desire on that task or goal. You simply rate on a scale of 1 to 5 where you believe your employee is on each one of the questions. At the top half of Form C, you are asked to rate these 6 questions to determine capability on a task or goal. Do they know how to do the work? Do they have access to all needed resources? Do they know a lot about the task? Have they all the skills needed to do it well? Do they have relevant experience? And do they have all the information they need to do it well? Overall, the question that you want to ask to determine whether someone has low capability or high capability on a goal or task is, do they have demonstrated capability? In other words, have they successfully completed the goal or task before? If this is a new goal or task to them with new success measures and a new SMART goal, then we would not rate them as having high capability on this task or goal. Again, we're not determining whether they have high capability as an employee or as a person. What we're doing is trying to determine whether they have high capability or low capability on a specific task or goal. Being at CL1 or CL2 on a task or goal is not good, bad, right or wrong, better or worse than anything else. What we're trying to do is determine where they currently are in order for us to give them what they need so that they can be successful on their goals and tasks. It's almost as if you're in a mall looking for a specific store, and when you walk up to the map to find that store, you also want to find out where you currently are, and that's why you have the mark on the map, the "you are here." This is the "you are here" of performance management. So where exactly is this person? Because in order for us to know where they need to go and how to get there, we need to know where they currently are. And that's why we're doing this assessment and this determination of their capability and their desire. Now on Form C, you simply add up your ratings and you calculate a total number. If your total happens to be between 6 and 23, you would consider that to be low capability. If your total is between 24 and 30, you would consider that to be high capability. Now let's look at desire. At the bottom half of Form C, you are asked to rate these 6 questions to determine desire on a goal or task. Do they seem highly interested in the task? Do they appear to believe the task is important? Do they appear enthusiastic about the personal benefits of doing the task well? Do they feel reasonably sure that she can succeed at the task? Do they seem highly motivated to excel at the task? And do they have plenty of support from others on the task? Again, you simply add up your ratings and calculate a total. If your total is between 6 and 23, you would consider that to be low capability. Low desire. If your total is between 24 and 30, you would consider that to be high desire. When you determine whether they have low or high capability and low or high desire on a specific goal or task, you can translate that into capacity level. It's extremely important that both you and your employee are aligned on their capacity level on each of their tasks or goals. If you are misaligned, then you may be providing the wrong leadership strategy to them. If you'd like, you may share Form C with your employee and teach them how to use it. Each Form C should be a separate task or goal. Have them complete their Form Cs and you can compare your answers. If you see misalignment, then that's the time to discuss it. Another thing to think of is that this leadership is not something that we do to somebody, it's something that we do with somebody. So you want to make sure that you are aligned and agreed on these various components before moving forward. First and foremost, we have to align and agree on the goal or the task, or even the behavior that's expected. You need to make sure that they're on board, that they fully understand what good looks like and what your expectation is. The next step is to determine their capacity level on that goal, task, or maybe even behavior based on their capability and their desire on that particular goal or task. Again, aligning on that and making sure that both of you agree where that person is extremely important. The punchline of this all is in our next session, we're going to talk about the matching leadership strategy that's going to be a best fit match for that person based on that goal or task. And again, somebody can be at one capacity level on one task, and they could be at a different capacity level on a different task. Knowing which capacity level they're at will help you determine which leadership strategy you should employ. So during part 2 of our program, we are going to talk about how to respond and react to each capacity level.